It's reported that taxpayers are now paying £8 million a day to keep channel migrants in hotels. This figure has gone up from £6 million a day. Home Secretary, why?
Well, we need to stop the use of hotels. We need to roll out large sites. And that's why we are standing up new sites around the country which will accommodate thousands of migrants. And ultimately, we need to be able to reduce and fix this problem. That's why our Rwanda scheme is part of the solution. We need to be able to detain and remove people swiftly when they arrive here illegally.
Well, it's nearly a year since you said that your dream was to see planes taking off to Rwanda. I imagine you've had some sleepless nights over the last 12 months. Home Secretary, are we anywhere closer to Rwanda either working or being officially stood down?
Well, the reality is we've been frustrated in the courts. So you saw the scenes last June where we attempted flights, but we were thwarted by legal action. We're still playing out that legal action, and we will be in the Supreme Court later this year. We await the judgment of the Supreme Court. We're confident in the lawfulness of our agreement. I believe it's a world-beating agreement. I believe it can be a model for other countries on how to solve the migrant crisis. And as soon as we are able to, we will work to get flights off to Rwanda.
But when might that be?
It's difficult for me to put a precise timeline on it, I'm afraid. I'm beholden to the court timetable. It's not for me to interfere with the justices or the judges on how they conduct their scheduling. They will be hearing this case in the proper manner later this year, and they will issue a judgment following the hearing. We will put forward our best case. As I say, we're confident in the lawfulness of our agreement. It was upheld in the High Court. The most senior judge, the Lord Chief Justice, agreed with the government and found it to be lawful. So 3 judges out of 5 have actually sided with the government so far. And we hope that the Supreme Court finds it also to be lawful. And if they do, then we will work quickly to stand up flights.
If you were to be defeated again, would you speak with the Prime Minister about leaving the ECHR?
It's very difficult to get into speculative conversations at this point.
It's not that speculative,
as a Prime Minister,
Home Secretary, with respect.
Well, as the Prime Minister himself has said, we are going to do whatever it takes to solve this problem.
So
There's
that
a
would
reason
be
why
leaving
he
the
made.
ECHR.
There's a reason why he made stopping the boats one of his 5 key pledges to the country earlier this year. He takes this problem very seriously. We've been working closely to fix it, to roll out new legislation. We successfully passed the Illegal Migration Act earlier this year. We are now waiting for a judgment on Rwanda. And we, as I say, are confident in its lawfulness, and we want to deliver flights off to Rwanda as quickly as possible. I believe that deterrence is the key to solving this problem. People need to know that if they're going to come here illegally, without a right to be here, breaking our rules, jumping the queue, paying people smugglers, feeding and fueling a vile trade, that they have no right to stay here. They have no right to be in the UK.
You reference the idea of larger sites to try and get that hotel bill down. Can I take you to the Bibby Stockholm, as it's called? You'll be aware that over the course of 4 days last month, just 39 people were put on there. They've subsequently, of course, been deboarded, if that's the word. When will that be in use, and why is it not in use now, Home Secretary?
Well, we were disappointed, obviously, that we had to take people off the barge in August. We are carrying out all of the necessary checks and authorisations, and once those are completed, we'll be re-embarking people as quickly as possible.
But what takes so long? What is the problem there? It was the 11th of August that the last person was removed. I don't need to tell you, today is September the 20th. Dear God, what's going on down there?
Listen, this is a complex issue. I think we've done very well to stand up the barge so far. There's been a lot of project management, a lot of intensive work across all of government to stand up these new sites from scratch, something the Home Office hasn't really done before, I have to say. We've succeeded in places like Wethersfield. We're going to be rolling out a site in Scampton and Lincolnshire, and the barge is also part of that new estate. But once we are in a position, we are confident. I'm confident in its safety.
What's stopping it? Is it still got Legionnaire's disease? Are there health and safety issues? Is the barge sinking? What is it, Home Secretary?
There are various procedures that we need to complete, but we are confident in the safety. The barge and barges like that one have been used very recently to house migrants, to house oil rig workers. A barge has been used in Edinburgh, for example.
But if it's been
so we
used
need to just make
recently-
sure we get all the logistics right before we put people back on the barge. But I'm absolutely determined to roll out the use of this barge and use it for migrant accommodation.
All right, last couple of minutes together. Do you support the current 2030 ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars, Home Secretary?
Well, we're absolutely committed to rolling out our net zero commitments by 2050 in line with our international commitments.
So you want to keep it at 2030?
Well, the Prime Minister will be setting out a bit more detail in the next few days about how we are going to get to our various targets. We've got to remain pragmatic and proportionate about how we approach net zero. And we've got to remember that these targets are ultimately goals, not straitjackets, and we're not going to save the planet by bankrupting the British people.
Because you'll know, it's been reported the Prime Minister is to announce this week the government is abandoning its ambition to ban new gas boilers from 2035 and then also rolling back those deadlines on cars. If that is the case, you would support that?
If the Prime Minister has my admiration for making difficult decisions in the public interest, putting the economy first, putting household budgets first, putting daily lives first and how people get about their lives, get to work, get to school. It's important that we adopt an approach of pragmatism and stability and sustainability. We're committed to rolling out net zero by 2050. That remains unchanged. And I'm incredibly proud of what we've achieved so far.
I mean, that's your sentiment. I have to put you that Zach Goldsmith, who of course served as a minister under Mr Sunak and is now a Conservative peer, says his, as in Mr Sunak's, his short stint as PM will be remembered as the moment the UK turned its back on the world and on future generations and as a moment of shame. Is Lord Goldsmith right?
I disagree with Lord Goldsmith. He's an expert in this field, but I disagree with him on this. I think we need to take into account the current economic climate. We need to take into account the cost of living challenges. We need to make sure this is sustainable and affordable. We can't, as I say, achieve an arbitrary target and in the process bankrupt everybody. We need to do this in a sensible, mature and sustainable way.
Last topic of our conversation. Home Secretary, when did you first learn about the XL American Bully breed dog, and what is the future for the dog and indeed the dog's owners in this country? Are they all to be muzzled? That's the dogs, by the way, not the owners. Home Secretary.
Well, we've seen tragically how this American XL Bully dog can wreak havoc, and we have taken steps, as the Prime Minister announced at the end of last week, to ban this dog by the end of the year. I fully support that. I think that would be in the interests of public safety, and it's absolutely right
what about existing
that we identify
people who have these dogs already. I understand. Will they be rounded up? What happens to existing XL bullies?
Well, the way it works is when we do this, is we add this particular breed, once we've established the nature of the breed, to the listing on the Dangerous Dogs Act. That will then ban the breeding of those dogs. But we have sufficient legal and criminal offences to cover the behaviour, the reckless or criminal behaviour of owners. And if owners use their dogs in a criminal way, if they fail to control their animals, and if those animals cause serious damage or serious harm, then those owners can be liable in the criminal law.
But it obviously doesn't help in the case of someone who's been savaged. So will the dogs have to wear a muzzle? Existing XL bullies, that's my final question. Might they have to wear a muzzle? Home Secretary.
Well, that's always an option. We are considering all options, but ultimately we want to control the unacceptable and aggressive spread of these dogs, which are killers.